Imagine a vast continent, with forests stretching for thousands of miles, rivers bigger than anything most Europeans had ever seen, and civilizations that had thrived there for thousands of years. Then one day in 1492, a group of ships appears on the horizon, the man leading them, Christopher Columbus. What happened next didn't just change one land, it changed the entire world. The story of America isn't just about freedom and democracy. It's about ambition, rebellion, power, and a fight that shaped the modern world. So how did a group of scattered colonies turn into the most powerful nation on Earth? Well, the story is a lot more intense than most history books tell you. Let's rewind the clock. Long before Europeans even dreamed of crossing the Atlantic, North America was already home to millions of people. These were the Native American civilizations. From the powerful Mississippian cultures to the skilled tribes of the Great Plains, entire societies flourished across the continent. They built cities, traded across huge distances, and developed complex cultures. But everything changed when European explorers began searching for new trade routes. In 1492, Columbus sailed west under the Spanish crown. He thought he had reached Asia. Instead, he accidentally opened the door to an entirely new world. Soon, Spain, France, and England all wanted a piece of this massive continent, and that competition would shape the future of America. Fast forward to the early 1600s, England decided it wanted its own foothold in the New World. In 1607, settlers established the first permanent English colony, Jamestown. But life there was brutal. Food shortages, disease, harsh winters, and constant conflict with local tribes nearly wiped them out. Some historians even say the colonists resorted to cannibalism during the worst winter. Yeah, it was that bad. But somehow the colony survived. Once tobacco farming became profitable, more settlers started arriving. Soon, other colonies appeared along the Atlantic coast: Massachusetts, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York. Each colony had its own culture, religion, and economy. But they all shared one thing: they were still under British control, and that would eventually become a huge problem. By the mid-1700s, the American colonies were booming. The population was growing fast, trade was expanding. Many colonists started thinking of themselves less as British subjects and more as Americans. But Britain had just finished fighting the expensive French and Indian War. The war left Britain deep in debt, so the British government decided the colonies should help pay for it. They passed new taxes: the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, and eventually the Tea Act. Colonists were furious. They had no representatives in the British Parliament. So they asked a simple question: why are we being taxed if we have no say in the government? That idea became a famous slogan: no taxation without representation, and tensions started boiling over. Then came one of the most dramatic moments in American history. In 1773, colonists in Boston decided they had enough. Disguised as Native Americans, they boarded British ships and dumped hundreds of crates of tea into the harbor. This moment became known as the Boston Tea Party. The British government was furious. It responded with harsh punishments called the Intolerable Acts. But instead of scaring the colonies, it united them. Leaders from across the colonies gathered to discuss what to do next. Among them was a tall Virginian with a reputation for leadership. His name, George Washington, and soon he would lead an army. In 1775, fighting finally broke out between colonial militias and British troops. The war had begun. This conflict would become known as the American Revolution. At first, the colonies were outmatched. Britain had the strongest military in the world. The colonial army lacked training, weapons, and supplies. But they had something powerful: a belief that they were fighting for freedom. In 1776, the colonies made a bold move. They officially declared independence from Britain. The document announcing this was the United States Declaration of Independence, and one of the main writers behind it was Thomas Jefferson. The message was clear: the colonies were no longer part of the British Empire. They were now the United States of America. For years, the war dragged on. The Continental Army faced brutal winters, hunger, and constant defeat. But Washington refused to give up, and something unexpected happened. France, Britain's longtime rival, decided to support the American cause. With French ships, money, and soldiers helping, the balance began to shift. Night, in 1781, the decisive battle took place at Yorktown. British General Charles Cornwallis was surrounded. There was no escape. He surrendered. The war was over. America was finally free. Winning independence was only the beginning. Now the former colonies had to figure out how to govern themselves. In 1787, leaders gathered to write the country's most important document, the United States Constitution. This document created a new system of government with three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. And soon, the nation elected its first president, the same man who had led the army to victory, George Washington. But the young country still faced huge challenges: expansion, political conflicts, and a growing divide over slavery would soon test the nation again. As America expanded westward, a major question kept coming up. Would new states allow slavery or ban it? The issue divided the country deeply. Northern states began abolishing slavery, while southern states depended on it for their economy. Tension kept growing until it finally exploded in 1861. The country split into two sides: the Union and the Confederacy. This brutal conflict became the American Civil War. Leading the Union was President Abraham Lincoln. After 4 years of devastating fighting, the Union won. Slavery was abolished. But the nation had been forever changed. After the Civil War, America began transforming rapidly. Railroads stretched across the continent. Factories powered the Industrial Revolution. Millions of immigrants arrived searching for opportunity. By the early 1900s, the United States was becoming a major global power. Then two massive conflicts reshaped the world: World War I and World War II. During the Second War, America played a decisive role in defeating Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. After 1945, the United States emerged as one of the most powerful nations on Earth. The second half of the 20th century brought huge cultural and political changes. The Civil Rights Movement fought for racial equality, with leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. inspiring millions. Technology advanced rapidly. America landed astronauts on the moon during the Apollo 11 mission, and the country became a global leader in science, entertainment, and innovation. But the story of America is still being written. Every generation adds a new chapter. So when you look at America today, it's easy to see skyscrapers, highways, and powerful institutions. But behind all of that is a story filled with rebellion, ambition, courage, and conflict. A story that started with explorers crossing an unknown ocean, colonists daring to challenge an empire, and a revolution that changed the world forever. And the wild part, the next chapter of American history, has not been written yet. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that shaped our world.